Well, hi everybody. Yes, I finally did it. I finally got Enigma finished, the next book in the Belt series. So it's been a long time coming, but I got there in the end. Um, this is probably was one of the hardest books for me to write. Um, I mean, you would think after 10 novels it would get easy, but no, apparently not. Nevertheless, both my editors seem to think it's my best book ever. So, but I will let you guys be the judge of that. Um, I mean, it was a challenging book because where do you go after book three of the Belt? It finished up fairly nicely. So how do I take that in a new direction and bring in some new characters and make it interesting and bring in some new concepts? Um, so I'm just going to talk about some of the ideas that are in it, because I get some emails in from people going, "Where do you get your ideas, and how does the process work?" So this to give you some idea of what goes on in my head. But a lot of these ideas just come from things I hear or you know documentaries and stuff I read. But the three kind of things that kind of stuck with me last year were. One was a presentation, Blue Origin presentation. Jeff Bezos was talking about his moon mission thing. But in that presentation, he was talking about anneal cylinders, which were fascinating for me. Now, these are not new. These are been talked about since the 70s. So that was one. The other one was quantum biology. There was a very interesting BBC documentary done on quantum biology, which was utterly fascinating. And the third one was Elon Musk talking about Neuralink, this idea of using a kind of a brain-machine interface that he's developing. So all these sort of three things kind of were rattling around in my head. But the first one on Blue Origin, yeah, I mean this goes way back to the 70s, and it's very interesting stuff. So here's a clip from that presentation of Jeff talking about anneal cylinders.
These are very large structures, miles on end, and they hold 1 million people or more each. Here's the International Space Station for scale. This is a very different kind of space colony. Let's take a look at what they might look like inside. High-speed transport, agricultural areas. We added a little drone there. Cities in the background. Some of them would be more recreational. They don't have to have the same gravity. You could have a recreational one that keeps 0 G so that you can go flying with your own wings. Some would be national parks. These are really pleasant places to live. Some of these O'Neill colonies might choose to replicate Earth cities. They might pick historical cities and mimic them in some way. There'd be whole new kinds of architecture. These are ideal climates. These are shirt sleeve environments. This is Maui on its best day all year long. No rain, no storms, no earthquakes. What does the architecture even look like when it no longer has its primary purpose of shelter?
The other thing is here is a clip of famous Isaac Asimov and Jerry O'Neill, an interview back in the day, talking about how come O'Neill cylinders were never mentioned in sort of sci-fi as such, and Isaac Asimov is quite interesting in what he says, And in fact, some of the stuff that he says, you'll kind of recognize it from, I think it's book 1 of the Belt series. So here he is.
Did you anticipate anything like this in any of your science fiction?
Nobody did really, because we've all been planet chauvinists. We've all believed people should live on the surface of a planet. of a world. I've had colonies on the moon, so have 100 other science fiction writers. The closest I came to a manufactured world in free space was to suggest that we go out to the asteroid belt and hollow out the asteroids and make ships out of them. It never occurred to me to bring the material from the asteroids in towards the Earth, where conditions are pleasanter, and build the worlds there.
The second thing that was rattling around in my head was quantum biology. This is a fascinating subject, and there is a certain amount of that in the belt where the kind of the Van Hielding is really about trying to extend human lifespan and genetically experimenting. But this was a really interesting documentary, and it sort of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff that I didn't realize before. That within biology, down at the nano, the quantum level, there is a lot of. They're beginning to realize there's a lot of quantum phenomenon being utilized by biology, and things like photosynthesis in plants, how certain birds and bees navigate. And even in terms of cell division, when a cell divides, there's a quantum element involved in that. But here's a clip of Jim, the guy who did the documentary, and he's doing a TED Talk. So this is from his TED Talk.
I'd like to introduce you to an emerging area of science, one that is still speculative, but hugely exciting, and certainly one that's growing very rapidly. Quantum biology asks a very simple question. Does quantum mechanics, that weird and wonderful and powerful theory of the subatomic world, of atoms and molecules, that underpins so much of modern physics and chemistry, also play a role inside the living cell? In other words, are there processes, mechanisms, phenomena in living organisms that can only be explained with a helping hand from quantum mechanics? Now, quantum biology isn't new. It's been around since the early 1930s. But it's only in the last decade or so that careful experiments in biochemistry labs using spectroscopy have shown very clear evidence, firm evidence, that there are certain specific mechanisms that require quantum mechanics to explain them.
So interesting stuff. But the third idea is Musk, being Musk, of course, and he's involved himself in this Neuralink, which is developing a physical interface, brain-machine interface. But of course, Musk being Musk, he kind of takes it a bit further and has this idea that this could be a way of sort of directly interfacing with an artificial intelligence, with an AI.
And this will be a slow process where we will gradually increase the issues that we solve until ultimately we can do a full brain-machine interface. Yeah, this is going to sound pretty weird, but achieve a sort of symbiosis with artificial intelligence. But I think with a high bandwidth brain-machine interface, I think we can actually go along for the ride. And we can effectively have the option of merging with AI.
I could use this sort of stuff, in this new book, where, without spoiling the plot of the first three books, but obviously there is a lot of AI and quantum intelligence QI stuff in it, and how would the seven Van Hielding, how would they try and undermine the dominion of the QIs? And obviously this idea of a mind-machine interface where you could not just control the machine, but you could actually literally control the data stream, the actual data. So even if you could do that in real time, or even in kind of dream time where time slows down, and then of course is there an element to, if you could enhance human biology to utilize quantum phenomena a bit more, then maybe those two things together could create some sort of person who could literally jack into the grid and start manipulating data. And this is where it all comes from, So the new book then essentially takes off about 20 years after the end of the the last one, the last series. So where it ends, it's 20 years later, and Luca is now all grown up, and she's living on Earth. And the book kicks off on the eve of her 23rd birthday. And she's living under the protection of Athena, but Athena delivers her some bad news, and due to sort of attacks on the QI's infrastructure by these, what I call node runners, these people are able to jack into the grid and disrupt the information. It feels like it's no longer able to protect her and keep her hidden. So she must leave Earth immediately and try and make it to a place called New World 1, which is this massive, gargantuan O'Neill cylinder that's been constructed out in the asteroid belt. So the book is basically her journey from Earth to try and get out there. But obviously for her leaving the protection of home, the Van Hilding family have tried to kidnap her in the past, and they want her because she's a fourth generation, and her biology has been altered. I won't get into what that means, but they're after her. And these node runners are trying to track her down. So if she wants to get to the New World 1, she's gonna have to face up to some serious fears, which is her, phobia of interfacing, jacking into the grid and into the data stream. She has an absolute visceral fear of this. But if she's going to get there, then she's gonna have to face up to reality and start doing some making some hard decisions. Now that's obviously a big threat because the downside of this is it can lead to brain death. You can end up being vegetative. But obviously, if she doesn't try and face up to these risks, she could end up just being dissected on a Van Hilding genetics lab. So that's basically the story of the book, and you can see how those sort of three ideas I've sort of brought them into the book and used them to develop a kind of a whole new world beyond the world of the original three books. Anyway, I'll leave you guys be the judge of it. It's out now, so I hope you read it and I hope you enjoy it. All the best. Talk again soon.